Hello and welcome to yet another Sit and Talk, aka Walk and Talk. Deacon, how are you today, sir?
I'm good. My eye is getting better. It looks less and less like I've had a punch up with the Mike Tyson thing that I was stating. Have you seen that video? Like, it was like a month ago now, of him like retraining again. Apparently he wants to get back involved in boxing.
No.
Yeah. Mike Tyson wants to get back involved, mate. And he looks sharp.
He does. I saw a picture of him the other day. He's muscled up and everything.
Mate, he wants to get back into. It's like Ricky Balboa, the film Ricky Balboa, where he gets his license again to fight.
Yeah.
And then he fights the world champion and he goes toe to toe with him to the end. But anyway, yeah, I'm good. But how are you?
I'm very well, mate. I'm very well. I'm just going to sort out my headphones because it keeps echoing apparently. So
yeah, you need headphones.
I do apologise, but we've got
he's super professional. You can tell he's very professional with all of this.
We've got a very special guest today. We do. He's waiting. He's a great lad. I can't speak highly enough of him. Without further ado, I think we should introduce him. Let's get him on.
Let's do that.
Hello, Marvin.
Hello. Hi.
How are you, mate?
Good, thanks. Yeah, you?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you, mate. Thank you so much for coming on the show. You know, it means a lot to me. It means an absolute hell of a lot. We've got a few questions of where we want to start. You know, as an ex-football player, seems weird saying that to you as an ex-football player. As an ex-football player, you've been very vocal about mental health, in particularly men's mental health within the game. Personally, as a person that we've spoken about this off air many a times.
Yeah.
It does mean a lot to me. I just want to ask you a simple question, really, as when you were going through your struggles and so forth, was there anybody you could talk to? I think this is a big question we ask a lot of people. Is there anybody you could have talked to or anybody you could have turned to? Did you feel like a football club was there for you? Any club?
No, absolutely not.
Wow.
I think for me at the time, the only person I didn't speak to anybody. I didn't speak to anybody for a long time. I didn't know how to. As men, we just bottle things up, and that was it for me. I just kind of kept it in, and it's my girlfriend, who's now my wife, who was the one who kind of pushed me to do something about it, because she could just see me deteriorating day by day. And I if she wasn't there, I don't know what I would have done, really, because I wouldn't have known where to go or what to do, because most of everything I thought was, I feel like this because I'm not playing, or I'm not playing well, or I don't. A lot of the time, I didn't even understand. So I wouldn't have been able to figure it out, or probably even work my way out of that.
No, it's true. It's true. She's a wonderful lady. Your wife, very, very, very nice lady. Deacon,
brilliant point though, because obviously. Marvin, I don't know if you know that we've had chats with Paul Konchesky and Paul Moody. Paul Konchesky, obviously in his sort of late 30s, and Paul Moody in his early 50s. So the eras of football that we've had conversations with, ex-footballers that we've had conversations with, have been quite varied. But but later on earlier on in football, talking late 80s, early 90s, up until the early 2000s. So yourself is probably, you are the youngest person that we've spoken to in regards to as close as today's football as we can possibly be.
Yeah.
I was really interested to find what your answer would be in regards, because we spoke to Paul Moody, as I said, and Konchesky, and to ask them, was there any support in the football area with regards to helping you for the invisible illness, as I call it? And I find it frustrating, I think is the key word, to hear that it's not any different in today's day and age, which is really frustrating. It might be an anomaly, but we're all trying to get through. But it sounds like there's still no major steps or even just awareness for it to let as an open book at the start of the season or whatever, just or a player liaison, just to let you know that there's if you ever feeling like this or whatever, just a little bit of help. Was that never the case?
Not for me. I know clubs are doing things differently now. Football changed a lot in the time that I started to when I finished. The money changed, the competition changed, the the pressures changed. Obviously, social media came into play massively, probably more so towards the middle of my career. So yeah, I think things like that, it depends on the person. So I can't say that every person in football is not really caring of
No, of course.
well-being and mental health, or that every person is caring. I can't say that. I mean, the probably the large majority from my experiences are, don't really see it as such a big issue or a big thing that needs to be dealt with, or maybe sometimes they don't know how to handle those people in those situations.
Mentioning it, isn't it? Really, yeah. First and foremost, we talk about us being fellas, guys, talking about emotion. It's quite a taboo subject. We don't really talk about it with the fellas, especially in football, where it's and it's quite high. Obviously, it's extremely high profile. A lot of people treat football as a religion. I know I do. I make a joke about it all the time. I don't live by year. I live season by season. Sometimes I have to book holidays dependent on when Arsenal are playing. Do you know what I mean? I've got to make sure that I'm scheduling in and everything. Do you know what I mean? So, it's all fun and games or whatever. But because it's so high profile, it can obviously be quite difficult to be able to talk about very delicate subjects like this and how to do it, how to have the conversation.
Yeah, obviously that's a massive thing with men in general. And I think the fact that we're having this conversation now just shows that things are starting to happen. People are starting to have these conversations, and it's becoming a more normal thing. This obviously we need to get to a point where this conversation doesn't need to be had, because it's just a norm. It's just a norm to be able to open up, and when you're in a dark place, a bad place, that you can go to your friends and say, listen, I feel like this, or I feel like that. And you can go to your boss or your workmates, wherever industry you're in, and it doesn't have any implications. I think that's the biggest thing, is that particularly in football, that I know that when you talk about mental well-being, mental health, people who are struggling from depression or anxiety, maybe, these are things that they'll have effects on your career if you speak about them normally, and that's the biggest problem.
That's it as well, because especially for footballers. Yeah, go on, Lee.
No, what I found in what I've been walking up and down the country and cycling up and down the country for the last 5 years, and I have seen a massive, huge change in the last 12 months of people willing to open up, people accepting that there is a problem. And when I first started, like we said in a previous video, it was really hard. But I remember walking to Birmingham and my phone went off, and it was a donation to our charity walk from Marvin, which got everybody talking and everybody having a laugh, and it meant a lot to us. It was spurred us on and done something which has gone on to bigger and better things. As we've been walking all over the country, we've hit loads this year so far, but obviously COVID-19 has stopped that. But we want to talk about you here today, Marvin.
Yes,
I think you're a great lad. I think you're a great lad. I think personally, you're one of the nicest guys I could ever meet, mate. I just want to go back to your football career. Obviously,
we'll start at the very beginning.
Deacon's done all his homework.
I did a little bit of research on you, Marvin. I'm going to be honest. Did a little bit of research. Starting in goal, I heard you started your football career. What happened there? Normally, people start at the front and then they make their way back. I remember hearing Kieran Gibbs talking about how he was a striker and then he became left back or whatever. And then you kind of hear that quite a lot, but you kind of went the other way.
Yeah, I started playing in goal because the team that I went to when Sunday League didn't have a goalkeeper, and I just wanted to play football, so I went in goal, and I was quite good.
Sweeper keeper before it was a sweeper keeper then.
And I stayed there for a while, and I got to I think about 10 or 11, and I kept asking, can I play up front? Can I play up front? Can I play up front? So I wanted to score goals, and eventually one game, we were a really good team as well. So one game they just said, we're winning last 15 or whatever, I can't remember how it was. You can go play up front, and I scored a hat trick. And they were like, oh, he's not bad up front, and he's quite quick, and he can shoot quite well. So maybe we'll try him out there, and we'll find another goalkeeper.
Amazing. That's a great story. I love that. You're 15
Wonderful.
minutes to do what you can. Scores a hat trick. I love it. I love that. Obviously, trials with Chelsea and Fulham as well. Football League exit trials. They people don't really talk about it too much. It was obviously I think the first time people really notice it is in FIFA 18, the journey with Alex Hunter, the very beginning of that in the game. And obviously, FIFA is one of the biggest games out there. As Marvin, you obviously had a few FIFA cards yourself. FIFA exit trials. What is that like? What the Premier League, exit trials. What is that like?
It's literally a make or break situation. You know, it is. You have to be in that situation to kind of grasp how big a deal it is. And obviously, you know, I was sat in the changing room with, I can't even remember how many other players who all in the same boat, been released from their club, and trying to impress. They got, you know, however long it is, and maybe half an hour of football.
Wow.
Over the day, and it's, you know, that's it.
You just need 15 minutes though, Marvin.
There's you know, you have to do well enough for the scouts watching to want to take you, whether it's on trial or give you a contract, and that is the most important jump in football as well. Going from under 16s to under 18s, going from, you know, being at school to being full time, to going from like kids football to actually starting to become men's football. You know, under 16s to 18s is the biggest jump in football, and at that time there is, you know, if you don't get scholar, it's so difficult to make it in the game. So difficult. You know, scholar wherever it may be. Obviously, non-league is different now, so I think there are more opportunities through non-league. But at that time, it was like, if you don't get your scholar, it's done. All I thought in my head is, if I don't impress here, that's it, game over. And for a 15, 16-year-old, that's a lot of pressure. You know, I saw some other kids that looked like they were physically going to be sick because, you know, some people were in the change room like trembling because it's such a high pressured environment. But for me, at that time, you know, I just saw it as single swim, and I thrived under that. You know, I really, I don't know what it was, but I just rose to it. Yeah.
I love it. And you got your 2-year scholarship, which was brilliant.
Yeah.
Fantastic. That sounds really stressful. Like, you know, it's stressful, but when you hear it,
especially for a young kid as well.
Yeah.
You know, that's.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
Of course, the GCSEs at the time as well. I remember, obviously, we've all done our GCSEs, and they're really stressful just doing them on their own, not including this on top of that. So, Watford, obviously, I think obviously this is me just doing some checking. 27 goals in 81 appearances for Watford. What was your time at Watford like? Obviously, your club. I know you went on loan to Wilston and Tranmere. I know Lee's got what was it? Lee Tranmere?
No, Wilstone scored.
Oh, was it Wilton? Sorry, Wilton.
30 seconds. They're a good bunch down there. We've done a walk from Dulwich Hamlet to Wilstone. Good bunch down there. They're nice.
Yeah, it is.
They're crazy, but they're nice. They're passionate. I like that about football. You know, football should be very passionate, and I think that's what we're all missing. If I'm honest, I think. But Deek, Watford.
I've got a question from a Watford fan, but before I do that, I want to ask a question. I know you took a penalty against Bristol Rovers in the Watford's League Cup.
In a shootout.
Remember that? Yeah.
Yeah.
What was it like taking a penalty? Because obviously
I think I scored.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
I can't. I mean, I'm pretty sure
it didn't tell me. It did. I couldn't find out whether he did. I could have dug a little bit deeper. But what was it like? What's it like taking a penalty overall? Obviously, you've taken a few penalties in your career, but what's it like?
I think it just depends on the situation, really.
Sure.
And, you know, what's going on and how much pressure is on that, how much is riding on that. Because I can't tell you how I felt at that time. It couldn't have been that significant. I can't even tell you if we won or lost. I can't remember. Sure. So yeah, I mean, that tells you how I felt at that time.
No, I appreciate
that. I've had penalties where I've scored late on for some teams, and I've had penalties that I've missed. I mean, everything depends on the situation. You know, I remember missing a penalty once for Watford against Leeds. I think it was maybe a couple of minutes left to go, and they went down the other end and scored pretty much straight away, and we lost the game. But that's football.
Yeah. If it's your team, it's the best thing ever. If it's not your team, it's the worst thing ever. You know, it's the flip of the coin, isn't it? It's you got to ride the rough with the smooth. It's But then, obviously, you made your name really at Watford. Obviously, you come through the ranks there, and I believe you played with Anthony McNamee as well.
I did, yeah.
Top lad. He was in my team as a kid. He was a great guy. He was one that really surprised me. We would go out drinking as kids, and he'd be on the orange juice. He was so nice. He was a great guy. I've got to catch up with him. But obviously, so you go from Watford. What was your time like at Watford? Were you experiencing anything? What the pressure? Were you feeling? Were you hopeful for the future? Were you?
I loved it, and I didn't think about the pressure at all, because at the time Watford weren't, they weren't the club that they are today. They were a much smaller club, and for me, it was just as simple as I'm just playing football. I'm playing first team football. I didn't really think about the size of the championship at the time, or how big a deal it was to play at that level at my age. And looking at my other teammates, there were players that I'd come through the academy with, or players that had kind of been around quite a bit, around the Football League, because Watford didn't have the money that clubs in the Championship now, or even what they do have in the Premier League now. So we didn't have the money to go out and have those big name signings, and it was a very tight knit squad. So it was really enjoyable. It was very much a family orientated environment around the whole club. Whether it was the dressing room, the players, the fans, players, families, and stuff as well. So it was very enjoyable. It felt very at home and very comfortable.
That's so. Obviously, then obviously we went on to Bolton, which we really want to touch on, which is why I kind of asked you to come on. Obviously, you left from Watford to Bolton. Deadline day.
On deadline day.
Yeah.
So what was it like? What was it like to obviously, you see the absolute bedlam that deadline day causes on Sky Sports. Who is it? I can't remember. He gets the tie out and everything. I can't remember his name.
Jim White.
Jim White. Yeah. Thank you. Yes, he gets the tie out. It gets it's all very serious. But what's it like moving on deadline day? Was that for you maybe the moment where you felt, I'm making some progress here? You know what I mean? But it was a big move. What do you think?
It was just very chaotic. It happened very quickly, and you don't really get a lot of time to think on deadline day. Things just happen, and you just go and sign paperwork, and the next day you're at training. That's literally how it is. And I never met the manager before I signed. I had a conversation with him on the phone for a couple of minutes. I didn't know anything about the area. I didn't know anything really about the club or about the players or the team, the way they played, or because I didn't have time. I didn't have time to really look into it. I just saw an opportunity to play at a Premier League club, which I thought amazing. Let's go and do that, and it didn't work out how we all hoped it would have worked out.
So obviously you leave Watford and you travel 240 miles north and go live there. Obviously you got your family and so forth back down south. How did you feel about that? As in, is that where you started to see the flaw, the cracks in the system? Did you start to? Is that where it all kind of started from?
Yeah, it was around that point. I'd say. I think the biggest thing for me was there was so much pressure on me at the time, and because I was, at a club where they were a lot bigger than Watford were, and Watford are probably, I found that very difficult to kind of deal with the intrusion on my personal life at times. And because when I moved up there, I was living in the hotel, which is inside the stadium, and I was living there for a couple of months, and before I eventually found my place in Manchester. And for me, it just felt like it was just all consuming at that time. I didn't have any escape, whether it was going to a restaurant, you know, I'd have people taking pictures on the, you know, from their table or looking at me when I walked in, and I found it very uncomfortable. And I was obviously quite young at the time. I was just about to turn 21. So I found it very comfortable, and it was a completely different environment. And then so you add the pressure of the fee and the fact that they're in Premier League, and as well as the fact that I didn't get to play much, was, you know, it's very difficult to deal with.
Yeah, mentally, I can imagine that. Obviously, that's coming back. Obviously, you signed for Bolton just after you represented Great Britain in the Olympics, London 2012, which was big success. Obviously, I loved the London 2012, and
Yeah,
so
I did.
It was chaos.
It was
I
great.
live not
fun.
too far from Stratford, and everyone was like, "The Olympics in London," and we all went, "Okay, in East London," and we went, "Yeah, great, right idea." Chaos, absolute chaos, but it was great. The atmosphere everyone got, it was such a joyous occasion or whatever. But what was it like to represent Great Britain?
Yeah,
Obviously,
it was
you
amazing.
represented England under 20s and under 21s, which is an amazing thing. Scoring, you know, debut goal against Azerbaijan.
But what a goal it was!
What a goal! Yeah. What a goal! But Great Britain, 15 lads. I think it was like 5 Welsh fellas in the team. What was that experience like?
So, I mean, that was a great experience. The whole event of the Olympics was just a wonderful occasion for everybody British, really. I'd say, you know, just even watching on, looking at the other events not before, but afterwards, after we did finish the tournament ourselves. You know, it's just amazing the way it brought people together, and so the atmosphere and the feel of it was amazing. In terms of an experience, you know, it's one that will live with me forever, because there isn't anything like it. It's completely different to any experience that I've ever had in football in other terms. And so I played in the under-21 Euros with England, and that it's so different. You know,
Wow.
It's so fast moving. There's so much going on, and obviously there are so many different sports and so many different people. You know, like being in the Olympic Village, for example, was just, it's like chaos. There's just so many people, and
It's still
so
chaos
much going on. Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, it was just an amazing experience. You know, played at some of the greatest stadiums in the country. So
that's all you want as a football player, isn't it? That's all you want. So let's go back to Watford. Let's go back to Bolton. So 2013, you had a suicide attempt. Do you want to talk out? Not explain it, but kind of.
Yeah, I can go into it. I mean,
not go into details, but you know where I'm going.
I was in a very dark place for a long time, and I couldn't see a way out. And you know, for a long time, I was self-medicating through alcohol. You know, I was on antidepressants for a while. I came off them because I didn't enjoy being on antidepressants. They made me feel very numb, and so I'd been off antidepressants for I don't know how long at this point, and I was just really wasn't in a great place, and I felt like I was just continuously just going deeper and deeper and deeper into this hole, and not able to understand why was, you know, get a grasp of the situation that was around me in my life or going on in my mind. So, you know, at this point, I'd had many times where I'd thought about taking my own life, and this was the only time that I attempted to do so. And I tried to overdose, you know, just before bed, and woke up the next. I woke up the next morning expecting. I didn't expect to wake up. You know, and I woke up and carried on as normal. You know, I got up, got ready, and went to training literally as I did every other day.
How did you feel that day after? Obviously, you're waking up and you wake up in your bed. Were you in the hotel within the stadium, or were you
at this point? This is when I was on loan at Charlton at this point.
Oh, okay.
And I was living with my girlfriend, see my wife now. She didn't know, and I never said anything. I just did what I did, and woke up the next morning. And to be honest, I didn't feel any different. I didn't feel worse. I didn't feel better.
You still felt that low.
Just literally was exactly. It was like, well, that didn't work. So what now? And just carried on. And I got up. as I was doing it at that time, got up, went to training, came home, drank until the rest of the, until I went to sleep, and that was that.
Done the next day. Yeah, it's just I find it's quite like, go back to what you said first of all, foremost. Men don't talk about stuff, and you literally getting up and going to work, giving the missus a kiss goodbye, see you later, love, see you later, have a nice day, man. Close the door. You close that door, and you're still pondering why, how, why am I still here? And everything's still going along. It's in like the birds singing, the trees are rustling. The sun's out, it's hitting you on your body, you can feel it on your skin, and you think to yourself, why, where am I going, what's going on, who can I talk to, where do I go, what do I do? And obviously, but did you talk to Charlton about that, or did you go back to Bolton and talk to Bolton, or did you just literally do what most men do, keep it to themselves and just go, fuck it, damn?
Exactly that. I just kept it to myself. I didn't even mention it to anyone for about 4 years. So I'd even got to a point when I was a lot better and still hadn't mentioned it to anyone up until I did so many years later.
This is a very hard thing to admit. I found that very hard. It's when I talk about it on the walks, especially. People ask, and it's just like it all comes flooding back to you. But then I missed chunks of it because it was the medication, and it was just I didn't know where I was going, what I was doing, I wanted someone just to put their arm around me and just give me a hug and just talk to me normally and sensibly and just say, mate, we're all going through who else is going through this, and then understand that other people are going through, and it just blows my mind that other people are going through this. And we as lads need to, and I applaud. I talk to you often enough to applaud you, to say like, thank you so much for what you do.
No worries.
Opening up the conversation, there's no question about it, you have saved lives, which is probably the biggest thing that any of us can achieve in our lives. Making a difference in someone's life is absolutely huge. Wow. But so how after the suicide attempt, so you kept quiet, and then kind of, did you just fall back into society and fall back into the regime of what you were used to, in the sense of going?
Literally.
Yeah,
it's exactly the same thing for another. It was another few months, and things started to change in terms of my football career. That kind of gave me a bit more of a boost, and things. I felt moving towards a better place, which helped. And then I got to a point where in the summer after I left Charlton, I was like, my loan finished at Charlton, and I was just all over the place, and I was just drinking an immense amount, and just really not in a good place. And it got to a point where I stopped and looked at myself and I said, what are you doing? What's going on? This is just not right. This isn't what you want. This isn't who you are. So just need to.
Was it a big wake up call for you? Obviously, I think with drink is a big problem with us men. Drink is a massive problem.
Definitely.
I lost an uncle to drink.
Sorry to hear that.
Nah, mate, he was one of the funniest guys I ever met, and I still think of him, and I can't not laugh about him. So that's a massive impact he had on my life. So obviously, we finished at Bolton, finished at Charlton. So you did you kind of rebuild yourself and find yourself again after this episode of looking in the mirror and going, come on, Marvin, I need to sort it out. I'm willing to talk, or was there anybody you could talk to at the club you were at?
No, again, it wasn't. There wasn't. There's a massive running theme here. There was never a time when I thought, I'm going to go to the club and speak about this. And at that point, it was just, I looked at myself and thought, this just isn't you in any way. Like, regardless of what's going on in the football industry, you need to just stop this. Stop being like this, and have a look at the damage you're causing to your relationships, to the people around you, and just be more pure. You know what I mean? Be more yourself. And I was very much going away from that because I had this massive ego just built up around me from being chipped away at, and damaged and hurt, and when things are happening or whatever, especially my football career, and being told people abusing you and people calling you whatever and whatnot. And
yeah, we'll get on to
at that time, I kind of like built my ego up and to the stage where I was like, I'm not going to let all this affect me on the outside, but obviously on the inside, it's eating you up. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah,
at that time, I was just like, you need to just stop pretending, stop playing around, just be yourself. And a lot of reading at that time as well, and which massively helped.
And obviously, you've got poetry. We've known for a few years now. You and your poetry,
yeah,
it's very good. Everybody should check it out. Literally, it's very good. Obviously, let's go back a little bit to your time at Bolton with a certain incident that happened at Millwall.
Back to London.
Obviously, racism has been rife in football over the last 18 months. It's been massively.
Couple decades.
Yeah. But it's been really like, you got me wrong there. But it's been really highlighted in the press over the last 18 months, massively. And obviously with the induction of social media and people having easily tweeting you and saying something absolutely barbaric.
Happened to Ian Wright, I think, about 2 weeks ago, didn't it? Yeah. Ian Wright being one of my favourite footballers. So, it's normally in his tweets he said, I get this a lot or whatnot, but this one apparently really got to him, which is fair enough, man. I'd let everything get to me, Jesus Christ, especially on social media. Well, you shouldn't do, but we're all human. Do you know what I mean? We've all got emotion and whatnot. And sometimes it's very difficult to sort of palm off really hateful, nasty comments sometimes. Millwall. A mixture of homesickness, first big, a huge move, being away from home, friends and family.
Homesickness was never a thing. I don't know.
Oh, really?
I mean, I think it was the manager at the time who
interesting,
put it out there, but that was never a thing. It was never interesting because, I mean, I said, in the conversation that I had with him, I said, in the end of the day, I'm going to go home on my days off because I don't have friends here. So I'm
fair enough.
And also, my girlfriend lives down in London. She'd come up every now and again as well. But if I've got a day off, I'm more than likely going to go down to London because that's where my family or my friends are. I don't have that here, so
makes total sense.
I don't see that as anything that's ridiculous. Being a young person living away from your family and friends.
No, mate, you got totally.
It's normal to miss people.
You join the army. The minute you get out of the army on leave, the first thing you do is go back straight home. You're like, I'm gonna go back home. Let me see everybody. Let me see how everybody's doing.
Yeah, and it's normal to miss people, and that was it. I miss people. There was some strange thing that people thought, for some reason I didn't like living up north. That's fans at the time, that's what they thought. And I said, well, that's not the case. But at the time it didn't really matter what I said because people had this preconceived notion in their mind anyway. And see, when I moved to Burnley, I lived in Manchester and I loved it. And it was different because I settled more up there. I had friends,
you built your network,
friendships. My network, so it was easier to spend a lot more time up there. And eventually, my girlfriend moved in as well. So, it
made you happy.
Very different.
That's it, isn't it? It is. But obviously, now you're working with the FA. We touched on the subject of racism. You're working now with Liam Rossignol and Paul Elliott. Two stars that I really looked up to. Not so much as Liam Rossignol because I was a little bit older, but Paul Elliott was an absolute legend. I loved him playing football. Obviously, that is the
IAB.
IAB. How are you finding it at the moment?
Well, we just had our first meeting a couple of weeks ago, so it's just, I think for me at the moment, it's just learning about what the role entails and how much impact and influence I guess we can have on the game. See, the game at the moment is standstill. Nobody knows really what's going on, and I think there are probably more pressing issues than what's going on. What the kind of work that we would do, because in the end of the day, if games can't be played, there's no game to kind of clean up or fix or help. So I think obviously the main priority is getting football on pitches.
Yeah, and getting everybody back in and the socialising and keeping fit and people
exactly.
having a little bit of passion. I've got a few.
Yeah. So I think for us,
go on.
Yeah, so it's for me at the moment. It's just about understanding what the role entails and the kind of work that they've done so far, and then go forward.
No, we definitely keep an eye on that. That's a really interesting thing that you're doing, and I'm totally, massively behind you. You know, I don't think. You know, it's racism is really bad, especially on social media, where I've seen it constantly, and it's just what possesses you to tweet someone. If you've had a crap game, I think you're going to hold your hands up and go, do you know what? I'm going to expect a little bit of slack here. You were rubbish today, Marvin. You're kind of like, all right, mate. I'm all right with that. That's fine. But when you go into someone's family, race, religion, so forth, it just why? We're massively against that for every reason possible. You know, it's not the way it is and shouldn't be, and anybody that finds committing these barbaric acts should be definitely banned for life from football, as far as I'm concerned. There's no place in football for it, if I'm honest.
Which brings it to that Millwall moment, 2013, playing against Millwall. Some things were said to you on the football pitch. Obviously, you know, it's only so many times I'm able to go to watch live football. So a lot of the time I watch it on telly. And you do see replays of moments and stuff like that. But I've never been there in the situation where I have seen something really just disgusting. Are you able to talk a little bit about what was going through your mind at the time, being in such a high profile moment? You know, all the eyes are on you, TV cameras, everything's on you. It's not like a social media thing where you can hide your face from, you know, emotion. If something's said to you, you're going to have a live reaction to it. Whereas on social media, you can collect your thoughts and maybe come back in however fashion you want to, of course. But in that situation, it's what do you do?
I mean, it's just shock, really. It's the same as when we played Serbia, and kind of that happened in the whole stadium. It's just you're shocked at what you're hearing. You don't. I mean, it takes a minute to register, and actually understand, you know, what's been said to you or what you're hearing, which, you know, obviously is not great to hear. But, you know, as you said, we've been fighting this for decades. You know, it's been massive, in not just in football but in society, in the world, not just in this country. So, you know, this is something that I even till today, you know, we're seeing and we're having to fight. And even at times it shocks me, at times it doesn't shock me. It just depends on what it is, when it is. So yeah, I mean, I don't really know what to say, to be honest, because
fair enough.
Yeah, I agree, mate. I remember watching that Serbia game.
It's not a normal situation.
And literally, am I right in saying, I'm sure as hell, we were in the black away shirt, or bluey, blacky away shirt, and weren't they like squaring up to each other? Like the England players, well, you lot were going absolutely
there was like it
crazy,
kicked off massively at the end of the game,
and rightly so. And I remember, but it's just not on. You know, you go football, you want to cheer on your player. You know, you cheer on your teams, but this is we have to change everything. I think everybody has to come together and have an understanding of what is going on and the way people are feeling. You know, we're talking about mental health here. You know, obviously, if you're playing football and you're getting racially abused, that's just going to absolutely destroy you. You know, how is that going to make you feel as an individual? It's not right. It's not on. And it should be absolutely booted out straight away without question. It just baffles me. It's like what you said. You don't know what to do. Laugh or absolutely get mad, or it takes you a couple of minutes to get in. I think the Man City supporter that got done, Manchester Derby, that got dragged out. And I had to watch about 60 times to understand what are you doing? What possesses you in your head to think that?
Yeah,
you know, especially in today's day and age where there's cameras everywhere. Everyone's paparazzi because everyone's got social media and a smartphone. Everyone's information's out there.
It just makes me believe. I've got to go to a few questions here, Marvin, if you don't mind. Here's one from Starkey. even with the stress and struggles, do you regret becoming a football player? Do you also class your career as a success? That's quite. I'll put that back up.
Yeah. I mean, to the first one, not at all. I mean,
No.
my dream was to become a professional football player, and I lived my dream. So, I mean, what I experienced. You know, I wouldn't change any of that. I mean, my experiences made me who I am today, and a lot of the negative experiences that I've had in life, have had massive positive repercussions. At the end of them. So
definitely.
I don't think or stress about the worries or the struggles that I had during my career. No, I look back and I have very, very many happy memories. And I definitely class my career as a success because I stayed in the game for 10 years. You know, people outside of the game often don't realize how difficult it is to become a professional football player, but also to stay a professional football player. It's incredibly difficult. So just to have a career playing, I played professional for 10 years. You know, that's insane. And when I look at if I think back to when I was younger, and if someone said, you know, you'll be a professional for 10 years, you'll play over 300 games, play in the Premier League, you know, all the other leagues, you'll play in the Olympics and play for England at 2 different, you know, youth levels. There's nothing.
I'm jealous. I'm jealous.
Sounds good to me. I've got one here. I'll go on. I was going to do a question, and if you want to do a question, Lee.
No, you go first. You go first.
So I've got a Watford fan at 97, Luke Alexander, who wanted to ask. Obviously, he really admired you playing for Watford, but he obviously knows it was very difficult during the time at Watford because obviously you even said it yourself, they weren't the big club that they are now. So a lot of the times they had to sort of sell players based on trying to just keep afloat, really.
Yeah,
you know, keep the So that was his question. What was it like because he felt like it was one of those situations as opposed to any other. They lost Danny Graham to very, very similar circumstances as well. So do you feel like that was maybe the case as to why you went on deadline day?
Yeah, probably. At the time, I think there were 2 of us who the club saw as sellable assets, myself and Adi Mariappa, who's now back at the club. And they needed to sell one of us to keep afloat. You know, I don't think that's any secret at the time. Every year, the club was selling players for, you know, $1 million, couple million maybe, or selling a few players to balance the books and keep going, really. And at the time, the club, the only aim was to survive, you know, stay in the championship and keep the books afloat. And, you know, for me at the time, I was a player that ended up going.
If you had to say, would you have stayed at Watford?
I mean, if the club, it's difficult to say because at the time, I mean, we all know who the owner was at the time, but at the time, the club weren't really looking to kick on. And obviously, in my career, I wanted to kick on. You know, if I knew that the club were wanted to move forward and progress, or, you know, just be more than just happy to just settle, then I would have stayed there my whole career.
Wow, that's some big words. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that's a massive thing.
Pretty cool.
Do you think medication counselling or peer support helps you, or a bit of both? Obviously, you've known what we've done for years regarding walking and so forth. I think, to me, it was definitely something that's really changed my life and opened up a massive, massive, massive conversation with so many people. I've met the most wonderful people through this, and you're welcome on a walk anytime, Marvin. You know that. I've been trying to get you for years, but you're not listening to me. Do you think I have to drag you out of the house, mate? I'm gonna have to drag you out. We're gonna go for a walk when this COVID-19 is over. What do you feel Do you still take medication, or do you?
No, actually, I think different things help at different points. If someone said to me at that time, right, you need to talk, that wouldn't have done anything for me because I didn't want to talk. Medication helped me. I didn't enjoy it, but it definitely helped me at the time I had it. Counseling helped me at the time I had it. And peer support has helped a lot, since. I don't think there is really an answer to that question because it very much depends on each person and what they feel comfortable with, what helps them, and where they're at as well.
No, totally. Going back to the peer support thing, are you you've retired end of last season?
Yeah.
Yeah, mate, it's all going crazy. These days are going crazy at the moment. And obviously, you retired at the age of 28. We caught up with each other just before Christmas, and I saw you for the first time with a smile on your face. And I commented on you on the day, and I said, Marvin, you're smiling. This is wicked. This is great. Normally, you just didn't have that Marvin face, that smiley, happy person. And I could see that leaving football really done the well for you. And how are you feeling since you've left the game? Are you still in contact with people in the game? Are you still helping people, or is there anything that you're trying to do to bring mental health and help other professional football players?
Well, I speak to the odd player that I played with. Really, I think football's a very fast game. It moves on very quickly. Most of my closest friends are players I played with in the academy at Watford, and all have moved on from football. I do bits and bobs with clubs, whether it's speaking engagements or just being a part of campaigns like the Heads Up campaign. Obviously, I've been quite a big part of. I've been a big advocate for and been supportive of because I think it's massive, and it's a very high profile campaign, which gets the conversation to an even wider audience.
Yeah, I agree. That's been going on for a couple of years now. The Heads Up campaign. Obviously, you're an ambassador for Calm. We all know Calm.
Yeah.
Calm is a campaign against living miserably, which is a phone line dedicated to men between the time of 5 till 12 every single night. And feel free to phone it. We put the link in the description underneath. Everybody is struggling at the moment, and I just want to say, Marvin, I can't thank you enough for coming on.
That's okay. Yeah,
it means so much to me. And obviously, everybody, tomorrow, Marvin is on the BBC on 8:05 with
that's the one.
A young man called William. I've never heard of him. I've never heard of him. But no,
before we bounce though, Marvin, I just wanted to talk to you about your 180 production company. I checked it out and I got really invested into it because I thought it was really, really cool. I even watched the switch with Nathaniel Phillips, obviously moving to Stuttgart in the second Bundesliga. I love football. I live and breathe on Football Manager. I don't know if you do, Marvin.
I did, when I was younger.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah,
Deacon ain't grown up.
I've not grown up. I've still not grown up. Still doing Football Manager. But I found it fantastic. The visuals and everything like that, the sound, the music, and everything worked fantastic. So I know that you've got something coming soon on your Twitter. Obviously, that's in the pipeline.
We're launching our digital channel very shortly. We co-produced a mini series with Yahoo, which is due to come out in July, which is on football. It touches on the darker sides of football, the side that football players know, and it's very common within football, but isn't common knowledge to outside of the industry really. So touch on mental health, bullying, homophobia, racism, injuries and dealing with that. And it's really strong. All the people are all either current players or ex, and every single person is anonymous because that's the way it has to be.
That's going to be very interesting.
Which
definitely keep
because I loved the switch. I thought it was great because it's quite unusual an English player going abroad It's very, very unusual to follow Phillips over to Stuttgart, and how he's handling it, and the small things that you forget about, the fact that he's having to sort of cook and live for himself, and he even said it himself. One of the things that he struggles with in the short is loneliness. He's alone a lot of the time. And he only knows yes and good in German, and they all think he's absolutely nuts, which is fair. But I thought it was absolutely brilliant. So I just wanted to touch on that on the 180. I even like the idea of the name turning things around, sort of switching it up. I thought that was fantastic. So if you haven't checked it out, guys, go and check it out. 180. It's obviously on your Twitter, Marvin, and go and check out the piece called The Switch. 100%. I've even shown my community it. It's a brilliant piece, so I'm looking forward to seeing more.
Yeah, we'll definitely keep an eye on that, Marvin. That'd be really interesting. And we'll watch tomorrow. Like I said, Martin, I can't thank you enough from the bottom of my heart. It means a lot to me. Say hello to the family for me.
Yeah, I will.
When it all finishes, thanks, mate. When it all finishes, we'll catch up again and go for a walk. And I'm determined. It's been 3 years trying to get you on a walk. I'm determined now. Yeah, there's no excuse now, mate.
Every time you ask me, it's winter.
I know. We've got to do it, mate.
It's when the football season is. Well, things are different now. When this opens up, the football season's dragged on.
I think everybody be running to Birmingham from now on.
Yeah, well, everyone's going to be really excited about it. Just
on the
football.
traps. That's gone. But no, Marvin, I thank you so much, mate. I can't thank you enough. Well, everybody, it's been a really good episode. Thank you so much for your comments. We will we'll try to get to them. But till next time, till next week, look after yourself, keep talking. Remember, help each other if you can, and keep smiling, people.